before we even start thinking about using the words weight and diabetes and HbA1c and BGLs and all of that sort of stuff, it's opening up a dialogue to establish what is important in the life of that person that is sitting right in front of you. That person that has put their hand up to walk into your consultation room that day, become vulnerable and ask for help. Asking the person that's vulnerable sitting in front of you what's important in their life right now, what do they value most, and understanding that human being sitting in front of you, what is at their core, what is their core value, what's their core purpose, what do they want to achieve in life. By starting to understand that, you can actually tap into their emotions to help to guide behaviour change. The idea about challenging traditional mindsets with people and being the challenger is something that we all have to get comfortable with. I'm not sure about you, but sometimes it's just easier if somebody says, oh, it's all right, I already do that. It's just easy to go, okay, and move on to the next thing. What I would challenge you each to do is to apply the principle of radical candor, and that is just to simply do these two things. Care personally, and then challenge directly. So we all care personally, don't we? We're health professionals, and we're here on a Saturday to enhance our own practices to help more people. We do care personally. When was the last time, though, that when you had a patient in front of you, you openly communicated how much you do care about them? I care about you, and it's because of this that I'm going to ask permission to challenge your ideas. Is that okay? We're going to ask permission to do it, and we're going to do a pre-frame. How many of you in practice do something that's called an OSD risk? Yeah. What happens when you get to those questions about physical activity? Yeah, spot on. That's a great opportunity to open up a dialogue and get some clarity in there. People's perceptions of where they're at versus where they are often at can be miles apart. So our job, I believe, now I'm coming from an opinion base here, is to care personally, but challenge that idea. And even if you challenge something once, you have opened up a very active dialogue, and you've also made that person feel like they can challenge you back. And that, my friends, is healthy communication. So that is something I would really encourage you to start doing. What I would like to share with you are some steps that we have worked towards as exercise physiologists and physiotherapists in our practice to help people get to where they want to get to. And these are steps that I believe you can apply in a health professional setting, but in your everyday life as well. And it works on the concept of a bit of a map, of creating a pathway. And it's about establishing where are we at, where do we need to be at, and how are we going to get there. Now, I'm also a fan of reverse engineering too, which some people might connect with, and some people might go, oh no, that confuses me a little bit. I like to go step 1 and step 2 and step 3 and step 4. I like to have evidence of where I'm at right now in this space. I'd like to pitch a stupid big idea down in this space, and then once I've picked the big stupid idea, I like to reverse engineer it to work out how I'm going to get there. And I think for too long in the area of health, we've been a little bit scared to do that. Would you agree? Yeses and nos. We've been very modest in our goal setting. We've been very traditional thinking. We must set SMART goals, and I'm not going to bag SMART goals here. But what I would suggest we don't have the ability to do with SMART goals is work with individual personalities and behaviour types. So we talk about goals being time-bound and realistic. I'm a fan of shattering what realistic is, and if somebody has the type of mentality, mindset, behaviour where they want to reach for the stars, I would question why we're not supporting that if that is what is going to get them further along in their journey. So I wonder if with those types of concepts, we could challenge our own thinking, leave ourselves open to different options in working with our patients and using different strategies, thinking about the person that's sitting right in front of us at that point in time. If they are a massive CEO of a company and they're continuously got an entrepreneurial mindset, or they're a risk taker, why are we putting them in a little box saying we need to take one little step at a time? Why aren't we changing our mentality around going, this is going to be the right approach for you? So what I would really love you guys to think about when you do have a patient in front of you is thinking with the person rather than just what you're used to. So whenever we're thinking about a treatment plan or a treatment map, what we always need to be thinking about, where are we at? Where do we need to be at and how we're going to get there? And that's what I like to call the pathway. Within creating the pathway, we're going to need help. And that's why we're all here today. We're from varying professions and we're here to collaborate with one another. It's about growing the support network. And I think taking our own ego, as health professionals out of it, going, but I can do that. Guess what? I can do a gait assessment. But you know who can do it better than me? A podiatrist. So taking our own ego out of our own work and reaching out to our networks is something that I would suggest maybe we could look to work on. You might be awesome at it. And if you are at the moment, well done, because the person that you are serving is the patient and it's not yourself. And that is awesome. And that's why we got into health to begin with. But what I'd really love you to do is think about growing your networks and maybe reaching out to some different people other than the people that you've always worked with, just because you always have. There might be some new people in your local community health centre. There might be a new private practice that's opened up the road. There might be a new dietitian that's moved in with the guys in the gym down the road. Open up those support networks and make a call on it. See how open they are to coming down and meeting you. Or even better still, and I have some local GPs that do this with us, they come down to our practice. We actually run professional development for them. We take them around our facility and we do some really cool things with them, and it builds trust, it builds a relationship, it opens up the lines of communication. Because why that's so important is when you refer out, you have to know and you have to trust them. Have you ever referred to somebody and your patient's had a really bad experience with them? It feels pretty awful, doesn't it? Because you feel responsible for making that happen. So two main things on this principle is it's important to remove our own ego out from our healthcare, and it's important to get to know the people that we're working with, so we're making sure that we're referring people that we know and that we trust. The other thing that I'm a very big fan of, and you would have heard me talk about this before, is actually putting measures in place. And it's measures that are appropriate for that person at that time. And sometimes measures actually are weight and waste. I know we moved a little bit away from that before, but sometimes they are relevant measures. And as much as when you grow the referral network, you send people out and they take their own outcome measures, I really think it's important that you sitting in the driving seat, referring out, have your own outcome measures in place. And they may be whatever you think is relevant. One of the best outcome measures that we've ever done, and that I'll continue to do, is actually to track movement throughout the day, because you set somebody up for success. It's very, very simple. Level of health literacy or whatever you want to call it, it doesn't matter. It might be timing themselves doing something and writing it down. It might be a wearable device. You can get as tech savvy or as non-tech savvy as you want. Get them to measure movement, because movement generally moves in this direction. And focus on the process. So the idea of progress over perfection. So if the end goal is, for instance, to reduce body weight, I would challenge that again, and I would go, what's the why behind it? People want to lose weight because of another reason. And everybody's reason for wanting to lose weight may be a little bit different. And it's about focusing on the process and the idea of progress over perfection, again, so we're putting our patients in the way of setting them up for success rather than actually setting them up for failure. Reviewing progress. What I love doing is working with GPs and referrers and other allied health that regularly get their patients in to do this. Review their progress and have a conversation. So if you're doing a care plan, let's say in practice, would many of you say, okay, in the next 4 weeks, these are the appointments, for instance, that need to be made with these health professionals. Is it okay if we lock in a time and a date now where we are going to reconnect and we're going to look at where you're at that point in time? We've got some yeses? Yeah. Super effective, and we've got some nominations, which is really cool. Celebrate the wins with your patients. Get excited about the little things because we can't underestimate the effect of positivity. It's a huge thing. And if you're setting up a bit of a care plan or a treatment map for a patient and you're bringing them back and you're celebrating little things with them, man, to them, that is going to feel significant. Keep up to date with research is the biggest thing. And on this too, when I say research around the idea of exercise, it's some of these key principles. Now, frequency, I know I have to wrap this up, so I'm going to make this one of my last 2 slides, but frequency. How frequently do you think somebody living with, say, type 2 diabetes needs to be physically active in a structured sense? Yeah, every day, if not most days of the week. We need to make sure we don't have any more than 2 non-consecutive days, 2 consecutive days without activity. Intensity. How hard do we have to be working? Current evidence tells us it's actually to have greatest benefit, moderate to vigorous. Now, if somebody hasn't gotten off the couch in the last 6 months, we're not going to throw them into moderate and vigorous. We're going to look at the idea of progression over there. But it's really great to get your head around what current guidelines are so that if you do refer them out to an exercise physiologist, you know the direction that they're going to be taking that treatment. You should also know the direction because your exercise physiologist should write a letter back to you and openly communicate with you as well. Time is 210 minutes. We currently recommend. If you're working more vigorous intensities, knocks it down to about 125. And type. There are benefits in both aerobic exercise and also resistance exercise. They're a match made in heaven when you pop them together. Evidence tells us that we get the most benefit when we actually combine the 2. So keeping yourself up to date, even with just a basic principle or a basic guideline, is going to be great. Learn some stuff yourself, which is super cool. Some basics, sitting to standing, calf raises, step-ups. Take them through maybe an exercise. I love the sitting and standing, and you can play around with it a little bit in a consult. You can say to them, hey, can you do me a favour? Can you just stand up for me for a second? And they'll stand up, and then you can say, oh, and can you just sit down? And they'll start to sit. Before you touch the chair, can you stand up again? And then start doing it with them. It will seriously take you like 30 seconds, but what they will walk out with is an exercise. And you can say, cool, so during every ad break or every hour at work, you're going to do 10 of those for me, and you're going to do that until you get your appointment with the EP. Is that okay? They're not going to say no, they're going to say yes. These are some of my key messages that I would love you to take home. First one, start with why. Watch Simon Sinek. Apply radical candour. Care personally, challenging directly. Establish your pathway, open up your networks, make sure we've got outcome measures in place. Focus on progress over perfection, and it's about the process, not always about the outcome. And I would always challenge that outcome side of things and link it back to the why and the emotion. Get practical where you can. Thank you so much for being a part of the discussion today. And I finished it up with this little frog. Frog comes from a concept of eat that frog. So if you've ever been nervous and procrastinating about challenging some patients directly with this sort of stuff, I'm going to encourage you to eat that frog and make it happen. Thank you.